Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to talk about final seasons. In particular, the fact is that I've noticed that not every show, but it's become a pattern that I've noticed that a lot of shows, when they go into their final seasons, they are heavily reduced when it comes to episodes. Like, to give a great example would be like Gotham. Like, obviously that premieres in January, the final season, but it's apparently only going to be 10 episodes from what I've read, not unless they ended up changing that. But that's crazy because like typically a season of Gotham is like 20 some episodes. So to see it kind of cut down to like that, especially in the final season, especially considering what the final season is about, it's kind of like, that's kind of sucky. Because that whole situation with that is like, I don't know the reason behind why that happens a lot, because it's happened in quite a few things. Grimm was like that. The final season was 13 episodes. Most of the other, 5 seasons were like 20 some episodes. The final season of the Vampire Diaries, now that was a little bit different because it wasn't completely like cut in half like most end up being. That one was like a couple episodes short because most end up being like 22, 20, like it's definitely in the 20 range. The final season of the Vampire Diaries was only 16 episodes. And to me, I always associate that with being like a network thing, because networks are the one that orders episodes. So I'm wondering why that happens. I always chalk it up to like, I guess because it's like, it's a final season, so it's kind of like, let's just put out the bare minimum amount of episodes we can to give them time to wrap everything up, because that's the difference between like something that's going into its final season, like a Gotham, for example, compared to something where it's like, you know, like a Once Upon a Time, which was, it was in its 7th season, but it was like, oh, we're getting canceled, so let's give the show a proper ending. Like, that's a very different situation. So it kind of bums me out a little bit, especially like many different cases, because I'm like, oh man, I really like this show, so I'd like to have a lengthy final season. But think of anything that's going into its final season that has a lengthy final season, I guess because it's like maybe less money gets put into it, so that's why they have less episodes. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong and more money actually goes into it, but I feel like, I guess it's like, my understanding and my thought would just kind of be like, because it is a final season, like, why put a lot of money into it? Because we're just doing this enough to kind of appease everyone and end this show off and kind of allow for a proper ending to be conducted, you know? So, because another weird example would be like The Killing, because that's in a different situation because it went to Netflix, because obviously it got canceled and came back and got canceled again. But in its particular case, the final season of it that was on Netflix was only 6 episodes. But then again, I guess it was like, it wasn't really meant to be maybe a full-blown season. Maybe it was more so meant to be like a, oh, hey, let's give the show a proper ending. To be fair, I think these were slightly in the more formative years of Netflix. Not the early days, but kind of early in its cycle when it ended up acquiring shows and stuff like that, that I think maybe that played a part in why they're doing that. You know, maybe because like where the show was, and it was kind of like, we'll just give you episodes to finish it off. So why not like 10? Because I don't remember how long a typical season is. I feel like it was definitely like maybe 10 or 13 episodes, but still. Like I said, it's just kind of an interesting thing. I do probably want to one day probably actually look into this heavily and find out the reason, because that's all just kind of my thoughts as to why. Like, that's the only assumption I can make. Because it's not even like a creator thing, because like I said, like, most like episode orders are a network. They're the ones that kind of decide how many episodes to order to put into something. So for them to make the decision to cut something in half, less than half more often than not, then it's kind of like, I want to understand why they do that. Like I said, that is not every show, but there have been quite a few shows that I've noticed that happen with. Fringe, The Mentalist, I guess technically Breaking Bad, but it's kind of in a different situation in itself, because it's like technically it was a final 5th season, but it was divided up into 2 seasons, 2 halves of a season. So there's 5A and there's 5B, so that's a little bit different. Most of the, I don't remember how many episodes most seasons were. I know only the first season of Breaking Bad was 8. So the final 2, well, A and B, of season 5 being 8, was kind of reflective of that, but still. I think even if I remember correctly, like the British Being Human was kind of a shorter final season. I want to say it was only like 6 episodes, but to be fair, it's when it's a British show, so I think that kind of falls in a different line. Also, like its numbers fluctuated. I mean, I think it still kind of counts because it went up with every subsequent series / season. The final season being 6, like I think the first series was 6, if I remember correctly. But to be fair, it's not like the season got cut in half. It was just like maybe like 1 or 2 episodes shorter than it would be. I mean, it's still wrapped up still, but it's just, I don't know. Like I said, it's something I do want to probably put some time into, like kind of looking up why all that happens. This is just kind of like a random thing that was like in my head recently that I figured, might as well talk about in a video. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time, we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good